All right, Roger Wesley, your host of Successfully Unemployed, and I'm absolutely fired up today because I have with me Mr. Brian Douglas, who is successfully unemployed. He has a personal training business, and I'm really excited to have him on the show today because I believe it's really going to bless a lot of people. So, Brian, how's it going?
It's going great,
Yes,
man.
welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So, tell us, what's your background?
Man, my background. So, obviously, I'm a personal trainer. I've been in health and wellness for quite a long time, but that also started because I graduated from UMBC.
Okay.
I ran track there, and I was a long jumper and a triple jumper. And when I graduated, they said, hey, Brian, you know what? We really want you to come back as a coach. And at the time, I was working down in D.C. for the Department of Treasury. And so I got that part-time coaching job that kind of just helped me survive that shift of life, going from running track and then sitting in a cubicle all day. And I realized I really loved coaching at that point. And then from there, I just switched gears and have been doing it ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. So then you were a track star.
I wouldn't say I'm a star, but I was pretty good.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome. So then, how did that lead you into, personal training now?
So when I graduated and they brought me back on as a coach after I graduated, it just made me realize that I missed it a ton, even though I was only gone for 3 months. And then I just realized how much I like coaching, because I would see these young athletes come in that I'm looking at them like, man, you have way more potential than I had, but they didn't have it quite up here in their heads yet. And everyone's different, but I was able to kind of unveil that confidence or that inner beast, if you will, in a lot of these different student athletes, and seeing them bloom just gave me something that the corporate world couldn't give me.
Wow, that's amazing. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so I'm an in-person and online personal trainer, a health coach, but I take more of a holistic approach. And I know everyone talks about, holistic. I actually hate that word now because it's overused. But it's true in this case where I like to make sure that there's no questions that aren't addressed. So you can come in and train with me all day if you want to, but the second you leave that gym or the second you leave my studio, you're kind of on your own. That's how it normally is. But what I do is I give, full day's instruction on how to eat and make it flexible. Ways to combat a negative mindset, different things to cue yourself to when you're thinking in a negative light and how to switch that around. So we focus on, obviously, fitness, a big emphasis in mobility and proper body movement. That's what everyone needs to focus on. Food, nutrition, supplementation, and then also the mindset.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, you said you used to work for the Department of Treasury, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I used to be a government employee.
So working for the Department of Treasury, that sounds like a really nicely paid position. Yeah. How are you able to, scale up your business to where you were able to replace that type of income and be successfully unemployed today?
Honestly, a lot of mentorship, a lot of examples that I saw from people that were already doing what I wanted to do, but a lot of planning as well.
Wow.
Like for me as a coach, I tell people all the time, if you have a goal, you have to write it down for it to become real.
Absolutely.
And for me, I had to write it down for me to see what I could become, because otherwise it just seems like a big goal that's unreachable.
Absolutely. Wow, that's phenomenal. So what were some of those key things that you learned while you were being mentored, or what were some things that you heard along the way that helped you to get to where you are right now?
To break down a big goal into smaller digestible chunks.
Okay.
Or maybe like, pinpoints on your journey. So if I wanted to say, let's say I had a goal at one point in time to be booked 40 hours a week as a personal trainer, and I wanted to make a certain amount of money. So I had to decide what I'm going to charge, but also what I'm going to offer to make sure that my client is getting more than what they even paid for. So I feel good about my service. And then, reach outs. How many people do I need to meet to help? And how many of those people are going to eventually take charge and take the step to actually work with me? There's a lot that goes into that, but having it down on paper really helped me. And I had about 10 bullet points that I would just go down and check. And if I didn't hit one week, I would revisit it and make sure that I took action.
Wow, that is amazing. So let me ask you this. What separates you from other personal trainers that are out there? What separates your business model, the way that you run your business versus everything else that everyone's doing out there?
Because I'm agile and I look at the person as an individual. I mean, not one program works for everybody, And so a lot of what I do is I see where someone's at and then kind of help them get to where they want to be by focusing on those 4 pillars I was talking about, the nutrition, the workouts, the mindset, and the supplementation. So the first thing I always do is just assess their body and how they move.
Okay.
We can't become healthy unless we move appropriately or correctly, as best as we can. And then I address the goal. If they want to lose weight, we focus on just input versus output. If they want to gain weight, same thing. And what I do is I educate all of my clients on why we're doing things. So I write reports. Not everyone likes to read, but at least people want to be educated on why I'm having them do sled pushes.
Oh, wow.
Or why I'm having them supplement maybe magnesium or protein, educating them in a readable format so then they feel secure and understand why I'm having them do that.
Wow. So you come to them as a trusted advisor.
Yes.
Really giving them information that they can take beyond the session with you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wow, that is phenomenal.
Sure.
So then you said that you do in-person personal training and online personal training. Tell us how that got started for you.
So I moved to San Diego, a while back. I'm in Arizona now, but I first went out fully on my own in San Diego. And in-person training is just the way to go just to get you started, right? So I don't like necessarily working at box gyms, so I decided just to make enough money to fund running my business out of a private studio. That's kind of where you get that hands-on experience, and then you learn a lot because, I had a client who was 93, I also had a client who was 7.
Wow.
And then so when you're in person with people, you feel their energy, you see their responses, you see their challenges, things that they like, their facial expression. That's the kind of stuff that's kind of like, it's almost like building my own internal AI. I'm just recognizing patterns, pattern recognition. And then once you get good enough at that, you get confident enough, and you know what works for certain people, and you can identify, okay, this worked for Mary, and Sandra reminds me a lot of Mary, where she's at now. We can focus on using a little bit of what happened with Mary's program, and then changing things up a little bit to fit whoever it is, and then you can take that and do it online now. You don't have to have that in-person touch. But I do require that my clients check in with me about once a week, either on a phone call or on a video call. Video call often works because then you can kind of see where they're at mentally, emotionally, physically, of course, but you can use those same cues that you learn in person online. So if anyone is an online trainer but has never done in-person training, I'm not saying I would be weary of them, but I would just definitely ask them a lot of questions to see if they're where you need them to be.
Okay. Wow. That's awesome. So let me ask you this, right? Because you said you worked for the Department of Treasury, right? What was that journey like? Was it like overnight you're like, boom, I'm successfully unemployed? Walk us through that journey of, of the long nights or the challenges that you had to overcome in order to get here. Because, as someone myself still being employed, on that journey to being successfly unemployed, I have found that there are times where I'm thinking this is going to be really easy, and at times where I'm really discouraged. So, what were some of the things that you had to overcome in your journey to becoming successfully unemployed today?
Well, so, when I left the Treasury, that wasn't the only job that I had. I've gone back and forth when I moved from different state to state. So, first, I don't want everyone to think that, I just left my job and became successful. I dipped back into it. So, I worked for the Department of Treasury. I worked for a venture capital firm as well. But, so, really, the challenge that honestly made me change career paths was, as a D1 athlete, you're training every single day, about 3 hours a day. You're running, you're lifting, and going from college sports to sitting in a cubicle just kind of changed everything for me in a negative way, where I just felt like I was trapped. I felt like I was in a hamster wheel, right? So first of all, my mindset went to trash. It just became really poor. Also, too, my eating habits became really poor. So I got really out of shape pretty quick. I mean, my blood pressure was hypertensive at 22, which makes no sense when I was normally pretty good. Excuse me. So a lot of health challenges, a lot of, emotional stress kind of changed the trajectory of where my life was going, and I didn't like it. So honestly, my worst injury that I ever had was the best blessing that I ever had, because one day after 2 years of being and working for the Treasury, I decided I'm going to go get fit. I'm going to go get in shape. I went to a football field not far from my house in Baltimore, Maryland. Went out there and was running in some new cleats I bought, just running 40s against some of the local college kids, and I felt like I was still fast, so it felt good. And then I got down in the three-point stance for my one last sprint, and I blew my Achilles tendon out completely.
Oh my goodness. Complete
snap. Like if you ever torn a tendon, you know what it sounds like, and you know how it feels. And I knew what happened immediately, and then I immediately just felt like I was depressed. Like, holy crap, now I definitely can't do anything for a year. But that made me angry. But instead of getting angry and putting it on other people, I realized, like, I can change this. And I think part of that change is I have to get out the office atmosphere. So I decided to study personal training for the first time through National Academy of Sports Medicine, and that's kind of the beginning of everything.
Wow. How long ago was that?
That was in 2010. No, sorry, excuse me. The injury was 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, about 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. So it's been quite the journey that you've went through. Oh my goodness.
For sure.
So let me ask you this, and it kind of ties into what you were just sharing, right? But how has failure shaped your life?
I think I've learned the most from failure. And now I don't even look at what I used to look at as failure. I look at it as just learning. I have this mantra, and I can't claim it. I got it from this guy, Mike Rashid, who's also big time in the wellness space and health and fitness space, where he says, nothing in life, how do you say it? You can edit this out. Nothing in life. Yeah, nothing bad has ever happened to me in life. And what he means by that is even the things that you look at as your greatest challenges and your worst fears and the things that hurt you the most and dropped you to your knees, those actually are the things that make you stronger.
Wow.
So I look at it like that because failure is just more so me searching for what works. You know, kind of like a Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You know what I mean? She goes in and she drinks this, she eats the soup that's too cold. She doesn't like it. You know, some people look at a job, their first job is, I thought I liked this, I stayed here for 10 years, I don't like it.
Right.
And they try something else and it's too hot, you know. And then they finally take a gamble on themselves and either find a new job or go out on their own and they find something that works. So you just got to find what works for you, and I think you have to fail a lot for that to be your reality where you find something that actually works for you.
Wow, I love that. See, it's so amazing because, a lot of people, I believe, think that the opposite of success is failure. But really the opposite of success is quitting.
Yeah.
Right? Those failures help you to move forward. They help you to get closer to that goal. And, I believe it was Benjamin Franklin that invented the light bulb, right? Or was it Benjamin Franklin or was it Albert Einstein?
No, Franklin.
Who, Franklin?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
He said, I found 1,000 ways that didn't work to create the light bulb, right? And it wasn't that he failed 1,000 times to say he found 1,000 ways that didn't work.
Yeah.
And, I think that is so huge for, people out there that understands that, failure is a part of the journey, but you have to go through it in order to get to success. Otherwise, it's like what they say, right? On the front part of success, there's a lot of suck.
Oh yeah. A lot of times where it sucked, for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you need the suck to succeed. That's funny.
100%.
That's true though.
So tell us, what type of support system has really helped you, along the way? I see that you're married, and we've been friends for a while, and I've seen a part of that journey. So tell me, how has your marriage, how has other people in your corner, how have they helped you to move forward in your journey to become successfully unemployed?
Man, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am today if it wasn't, of course, for my wife. She's not overly positive where it's it doesn't make it's not real, but always looking at the positive, finding the silver lining of everything, and also just having great friends around me, having a supportive family, not always supportive, but I'm not going to always focus on the negative. I'm going to focus on the one time that my mom might have said something supportive versus the 10 times that she got worried and told me I couldn't do it, But getting those good, positive people around you that are realistically positive, but also people who are also successful and like what they do in life, because if you're around negative people that are always down in the dumps, you're going to be down in the dumps.
Wow.
So your partner is very important. Never choose a bad partner. Okay. Your friends are important because those people are the ones that you're going to, see often, and just realizing that not everyone's going to support you.
Wow.
But a lot of those people that don't support you or think you can't do it are always going to come around. So instead of focusing on I'm going to prove you wrong, just prove yourself right.
I like that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So then let me ask you this, right? Kind of tying off of what you just said. You said, pick the right partner. Now, in fitness and in personal training, this goes hand in hand.
Yes.
Like, have a good gym partner, have a good personal trainer. So what were some of the criteria that you were looking for in your wife as you picked her? What made her a good partner? And, can you also maybe kind of hit that also, what makes a good partner in the gym also?
Yeah, those kind of go hand in hand. For me, it's someone who is slow to anger. Someone who is always going to tell you the truth regardless of how it may make you feel. Someone that can test you without being rude.
Okay.
Also someone who has similar goals in life, where we want to be financially, where we want to be with a family, success-wise, like where do we want to be when it comes to how much money we make, how much time we have for our family. You have to be aligned on those things. Also too, just, are your moral compasses aligned? Do you agree with, you don't all have to be politically aligned, but as long as you're morally aligned, I think that's huge. But also too, someone who has a healthy relationship with their family. It doesn't have to be both mom and dad or all the siblings, but someone that is that rock for their family. I think that's what I was looking for, because that's kind of what I am. I haven't always been that. That's what I strive to be, and now I am in that position, and I always want to work on myself. But she's doing everything better than I'm doing in my opinion, and it's someone that always gives me an example of, all right, Brian, chill out.
Wow.
You need to get back on your grind and listen to your wife's example.
Wow, I love that. That is so cool. Wow. So, I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you this, right? What type of book would you suggest for the audience to listen to? Something that helped you along your journey, nonfiction book, something that really added a lot of value to you in your journey to becoming successfully unemployed.
Well, one of the first books that one of my mentors told me to read was The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, and it just talks about the ways you can make your money. And I wish I would have read that in school, in high school, because I feel like we're all taught just to become employees. And there's nothing wrong with being an employee. We need employees.
Absolutely.
But if you're unhappy being an employee, just know there's other options out there. So you can be employee, you can be self-employed, you can run a business, you can invest. But, you know, where I grew up, I wasn't taught that. So when I realized, oh, I could, you know, be self-employed and also potentially have people working for me, or scaling my business to where I don't have to work as much, which is why I do online, so I can reach out to touch more people, help more people, but also I have more time back to myself where I'm not in the office. That really changed my point of view and how I looked at making money. So that's one thing I would say for anyone who's been an employee their whole life. Look that up and check out those 4 quadrants, because it really changed the way I view how I want to make my money.
Wow, that's awesome. So, you know, doubling off of that, how can someone that's employed right now start taking some active steps to become successfully unemployed like yourself?
I would say create a plan.
Okay.
Again, write that plan out, write those goals, and of course break it down like I said before. But find something that fires you up, that keeps you in a positive mindset where you're like, I will be so happy when I attain this. Not like I wish I was this. It's like, no, say in your mind or out loud, I'm going to be so happy when I am this person, or when I'm making this money, when I have this much time. You have to say these things to yourself to make it real, but taking actionable steps based off of something that you literally wrote out, and put that in your daily calendar as well. You know, treat it like your work. If you have a call at 9, 10, 11, 12, you put that in there. You're not going to just remember that you have a call. So structure your days around the habits that are going to create the future version of yourself.
Wow.
And you have to do things that aren't necessarily comfortable, but you got to work hard. If you're not tired at the end of the day, when you're on that journey, you're not doing it right.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that you share that. It reminds me of something my good friend Dustin Heiner said. He said, you know, once he decided that he was going to be a real estate investor, that moment he started, whenever he would announce himself or whenever he'd introduce himself, he said, hey, my name's Dustin, I'm an investor.
Claim it.
Right? He said, I have a side job, right, but I am an investor, right? So I love that you're talking about saying it. I love that you're talking about, you know, speaking it and having that plan. That is phenomenal. So,
oh yeah.
So let me ask you this, right? You know, now, I know that you are extremely successful, and I've picked up a lot from you in terms of, you know, over the years, some of the things you've shared with me, but what are some tips that you could share with people that they could, you know, start along their fitness journey? Where could they start? What are some of the biggest pitfalls that you think that people fall into, or some of the biggest myths that people fall into?
Health food. I'm not going to get down to any kind of conspiracy theory rabbit hole here, but we have to understand who's telling us the truth and who's not telling us the truth. And one thing that you can start doing is looking at the ingredients.
Okay.
You have to look at ingredients. We don't buy a car unless we know about the specs. Is it worth the $25K that this car salesman, you know, is trying to sell me on? So looking at ingredients and taking it a step further and going into Google and saying, are there any negative side effects with this you know, what's the word I'm looking for? This long word that I can't pronounce, right? And then do these things, because sometimes we just grab things because, oh, it's 100 calories, it's good for us. Oh, it's non-GMO, but it's also not organic, but you don't know that. So looking at the ingredients and then realizing that eating healthy is not as difficult as people may make it seem.
Wow.
The least ingredients, the better.
Wow, that's awesome. There's so many gold nuggets of what you said there, and I could go down a rabbit hole, but, you know, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now.
We don't have time for all that. I can go for 24 hours.
Exactly. Can you just give us like maybe 2 different foods that we could add to our diet, or maybe 2 different, you know, changes in some of the things that we're maybe eating or consuming, or maybe what's 2 things that we should reconsider that we may have, you know, consumed unknowingly that this really isn't good for us?
So the one thing I would say is kind of how I start my day, and I spoke to you about this, is sea salt. Now, of course, you want to buy, you know, a reputable brand that tests well in labs and doesn't have too many, you know, trace heavy metals or whatever. But there's a few that are relatively good out there. One of them is Celtic sea salt. When you start your day in the morning, a lot of people say, you know, this joke like, "Don't talk to me until I have my coffee." To me, it sounds like you're addicted.
Right.
If you can't be a happy person until you have your fix, you sound like a drug addict. Now, I'm not saying that people who drink coffee are drug addicts, but what I'm saying is give yourself time to hydrate first, right? Maybe that's why you're feeling sluggish, and it's not because you need coffee. So what I do in the morning, my wife and I, and a lot of my clients do, is this saltwater protocol. So what I do is I take a little pinch of Celtic sea salt. After I brush my teeth, scrape my tongue, get all the nasty gunk out of there in the morning so I'm not re-swallowing that the next day. Put a little pinch of sea salt in my tongue, let that dissolve, and then I drink some water with lemon. Or you can put the sea salt in water with lemon, stir it up, but if you put it on your tongue, it absorbs better. What that does is, salt is electricity, right? If we're dehydrated, we feel sluggish. We feel like our batteries are not charged, right? we need sodium in our bodies to create electric charge, to have our nervous system work properly, to hydrate our body. And so what that does is allows your body to absorb the water into the cell better. So that's step number one. Then drink your coffee. You might not even feel like you need coffee anymore after that, but doing that, you're gonna hydrate yourself because you slept for 8 hours without any water. Number two, don't fall into the hype that eggs are bad. Not all eggs are equal.
Okay.
You know, you want to get organic eggs for sure, and you want to check into what that chicken was fed. So even if it's organic, you got to watch out for if they were fed a bunch of soy and corn, that's GMO, they're going to have linoleic acid complex in there that's worse than canola oil, which is just not good for omega-3s. So you want to find good eggs, good salt. That's going to change your life because eggs are like nature's multivitamin.
Okay.
It's good protein, good fats. Your brain needs fat and protein. So those are my two that I would say are high up on the level of importance.
That was amazing. I can tell you have like a doctorate level understanding here. I just asked you two right off the dome. He was like, boom,
Man,
boom,
listen,
boom, boom.
I'm not as smart as some doctors. I'm not claiming that, but I have won some arguments against some doctors. It felt really good.
Wow, that's awesome. Wow, I can see how you're able to scale your business to where you can be successfully employed with the knowledge and the value that you add here. So, Brian, let me ask you this. You know, this has been absolutely amazing. You know, if someone's looking to get their health on track, if they're looking to, you know, push it to the next level, being a former Division I athlete yourself, I was a former Division I athlete. We know the value of coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady, you know, whether people like it or not, you know, on paper, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not a huge Tom Brady fan, but Tom Brady had 5 coaches.
Yeah.
He had a quarterback coach. He had an offensive coordinator, right? He had the head coach. He had multiple coaches, right? So for someone that's really looking to take it to the next level, that wants to get their health and fitness in the right direction, where can they find you? How can they get in contact with you? And what would you suggest for them to do?
So they can go to my website, briandouglasfitness.com.
Okay.
It has, you know, what I offer on there that we already talked about. They can go to my Instagram. It's Brian_Douglas_fit. Almost forgot about that real quick. Those are my two main ways of getting in contact with me. You can always email me at briandouglas.fitness@icloud.com. You can contact me anywhere like that, but what I like to do with people who are interested, I'm not going to expect you to just come in and buy training. I want to build a trust there also to see if you're a good candidate for my coaching, because some people just aren't ready yet, and that's okay. And those people, what I'll do is I give them a bunch of tips. They can go and practice on their own, and then when they feel they're ready, then come to me. But I like to offer just a lot of advice that maybe people can start on their own if they're kind of on the fence. Because for me, it's not about sales. For me, it's about timing of when someone's ready. And for me, it's about results. So if you train with me, I want to make sure that you get the results you want. Also because it makes me look good. But also too, if you're skipping out every week, I can't consciously continue to train someone that's not dedicated when I know there's 10 other people out there who really need what I have to offer. So make sure that you're in the right mindset. And if you're not, I can help with that. But start there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. Brian, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Really appreciate your time. Have an amazing backdrop here. Thanks for letting us come over. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, this has been absolutely amazing. If you want to be successfully unemployed, listen to people like Brian. He has the keys. We're so grateful to have this opportunity. Brian, thanks so much.
Hey, thanks, Roger. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Pleasure.